Good morning, friends. How's it going today? Click. I know, confusing, right? Friends, not bedheads. Oh, we're going to be talking about following our intuition this morning. And I just have a little story for you. So I'm kind of excited about it. Beautiful mug, isn't it? Handmade from somebody in our community. Directory coming out very soon. I keep saying that. It's, yeah, work in progress. It's coming out very soon. So, this is what I would call an original coffee with Karen. Okay. So, when I first started YouTube, coming on for Ask the Spirit Guides, the first thing I did was do some sessions with the dowsing rods. Okay. Then I started coming on just talking about my feelings about what was going on. And I would do a coffee with Karen just like this. I literally just woke up. That's what I would do. I would be laying in bed and I would be like, oh, I feel like talking about this. And then I would get on and I would have coffee with Karen about whatever I just felt like talking about that day. So today I was laying in bed and I was like, oh, this is what following your intuition is all about, because that's what we're talking about on this channel and in this community is following our intuition, following our inner guidance. Okay. And so a little bit of backstory then. So as the community grew, the Ask the Spirit Guides community grew, I was growing with it and shifting with it and coming up with new ideas and doing all these kind of things. You know, adding pendulum messages to my coffee with Karen and oracle cards and all that kind of stuff. Well, it started, and then all of a sudden, like, boom. And, it could have been very astrological, too, things in my birth chart. You know how things shift. And you're like, why is this shifting? I was feeling so good about this for like 4 months, and now why is it shifting, right? So you have to pay attention to those. And so we're still, anyway, so, it started becoming more of a production for me rather than a just showing up. I had all these things planned and I had a little agenda and I'm, which was fine. It was totally fine for a while. That was my inspired action. That's what my intuition was telling me to do at the time. Well, then it just started to not, for me, it started not to feel that much fun. I was like, I felt like I had to come up with stuff to talk about, and it just didn't, it lost the flavor of what I had originally started doing on here. And so this morning when I was laying in bed and I'm thinking, oh, right. I want to get on and talk about following our intuition. Okay, and I have another example that I want to use for a political, it had to do with AOC and a video I was watching of hers last night. That's what I really started thinking about. But I want to give you a little bit of backstory in terms of what I see happening right now in the community and videos that you're going to see from me now. So because I'm shifting and I'm following my own intuition, the plan right now is I would like to do these pop-in videos like this one, okay? If in the morning I wake up with something that I want to just talk about, then I'm going to get in front of the camera and just talk about it rather than it being this production, okay? Which is why I didn't, this is the mug I start off with, or one of them. I have 4 of them. This is the coffee mug I start off with in the morning. So I'm like, I'm not going to just go get one of my other funny ones or whatever, So, because this is like real chill having coffee with Karen type of, this is what it was. And I want to get back to that. Now, it may not come out all the time. I'm going to do it. I mean, we might have a coffee with Karen at 4 in the morning. We might have a coffee with Karen at 10 at night. When I feel like talking about something is when I'm going to come out. anything that occurs to me that might be helpful for us to talk about, you know? And that's what's following your intuition is taking inspired action when you are inspired to do it. And when you lose inspiration, to take a pause, to stop for a while and give it some thought, right? So now the one thing before I go on and just talk about that a little bit more, I am going to still do noon and 7. Okay, you probably have noticed I've been like up and down with different scheduling, that's because I've been trying to figure out how to not be so structured. And I felt like, well, where is my chance to not be structured? And I just realized this morning, laying in bed, this is it. Well, actually, my sister and I were talking about it, and I was like, I'm just going to do pop-in videos, just pop-in videos. So people, it's like you won't know. I started feeling like I had to do stuff based on a schedule because that's what I was telling people and that's what people were relying on and all that kind of stuff, which is totally going to be the case still, 12 and 7, but it's going to be like the 12 o'clock videos are going to be the messages from the pendulum because I really still want to do those, and those will be very structured. It'll be, here's what our guides have to say to us today, personal message and a political message. And then I might bring in just a couple minutes of like, well, just insights or whatever based on the messages, and then the oracle cards. And then at night, right now we're going to do the SGs because I love doing those. So the spirit guides talking to us about different topics. So that will be Sunday through Thursday right now. You can just count on that. I might do a pop-up on, I don't know. Anyways, I was like, I started feeling resentful. And I'm only using this as an example, you guys, as I usually do with everything, to have you look at your own life and say, what parts of things feels like a production now and I don't even want to do it? What part of my life do I feel like I have to do and I don't want to do it? What part of my life is so overly structured that I feel like I'm in a box? Where do I need to loosen up? Where do I need to just slow down? If we don't take the time, that was the other thing for me. Because this happens to all of us. This isn't just someone who is like recording videos for YouTube, It happens to all of us in different ways that if you don't give your time, like I didn't have time between one day to the next to process any of the spiritual stuff we were talking about, right? And so that was getting challenging for me because I was like overloaded with spiritual insights, let's say, and just processing the spiritual insights. When we get the pendulum messages, it doesn't feel as heavy to me, or even processing the political insights, all the crap that's been going on and trying to process all that. So for me, trying to make sense of it day after day after day on video was getting overwhelming for me, for sure. So the point is, if there's parts of our lives, there's other parts of my lives that in my life that I can feel like that too. And if there's a part of your life right now where you start to feel any kind of discomfort, what I'm starting to learn is that is your signal to stop, slow down, and look, or rest. And what I mean by look is rest until you can see what the discomfort is. And we, especially in Western society, are so go, 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 go. And the capitalism and the attitude that employers have of, God forbid you should even take a day off when you're not feeling well. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I've heard Jeff Bezos is like a total a-hole when it comes to his employees. And you know what? This is just occurring to me. Like, they have, I mean, if the busier they keep us, right, the less we can think, the less we can think, which is why the busier I was getting with the channel and the community and just talking and looking at the comments and, creating whatever, I had less time to think. I had less time to process. And we don't have any process time. We don't have any process time in Western society. Man, we're always going. We're always going. It's incredible. So when your body or your mind or your attitude, whatever it is, your personality, whatever it is that you're starting to feel uninspired, not excited about, no energy around, and man, can it shift from one day to the next, especially right now. It's annoying. It's actually quite annoying for me. I love when I feel inspired all the time, and then it's like I have this idea and then it'll last like a week. I'm like, dang it. Because then then my inspiration, my intuition is telling me, okay, that was great for the week. And I think, and now you got to slow down and wait for the next inspiration. Wait for your intuition to tell you the next step. It's really challenging for all of us when you have people who rely on you, when you have a job to go to, when you set up a schedule. It's very, very tricky, isn't it, when it comes to scheduling? I really do not like schedules. And I'm a J in the Myers-Briggs, which is the organized. I like to organize my time. I like to be pretty organized. But I'm kind of thinking maybe I'm a J wannabe. Maybe I'm a J wannabe. I think I'm a P wannabe. I think I'm definitely a P wannabe. Which is a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into that. But if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I just think as we are talking in this community about following our intuition, listening to our intuition, which is our spirit teams, our higher selves, we really have to listen. And our egos get in the way because of the structures and society expectations and what we've been taught, and everybody else's expectations around us. And that is what I'm just making some connections for myself. One of the cards that we pulled the message from Spirit yesterday was love yourself. What was it? Must love yourself. I had to look over there on my note. Must love yourself. You know what must love yourself really means? I don't even really know what that means, to be honest. In fact, I was going to ask AI and have a little talk about it today at noon when I come out with the pendulum messages. But must love yourself. I'm serious. I seriously am like, I don't even know what that means. That is how sad. That is how sad. And if I don't know what it means, think of how many people don't know what it means. There's a lot of people here who have been doing spiritual work for a long time, so you probably have a much better handle on it. And you're probably like, wow, Karen doesn't know what it means to love herself. No, I seriously do not. I seriously do not. It doesn't mean I don't love myself. I just seriously do not know how to explain it. Except for the inspiration I just got a moment ago. Is you have to love yourself enough to be able to disappoint anyone around you. To be able to say to your employer, I have sick time and I'm taking it because I'm sick. That's loving yourself. I feel like my entire life, it's a constant battle of expectations and doing what's right for myself. Expectations and doing what's right for myself. And that is a challenge. That is a challenge. And I think we can create our 5D, our 4D especially. We're going to shift from 3D to 5D, stopping at the 4D level for a while. I talked about that in a video yesterday, or 2 days ago. Yeah, yesterday. And so the shifting for me right now is to say, honestly, shoot, I should have used my FU mug. I have a mug that says, have a nice day. And then when you go like this, when you drink, it has gives you the finger. I found it at a thrift shop. I'm like, who would give this away? That's crazy. Anyways, I don't know. I kind of think loving yourself is you have to start saying F you to everything. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like, eventually it doesn't have to be that way. Once people realize that you're loving yourself and you're taking care of yourself first. Oh, what's really challenging, again, it's trying to manage the expectations. It's trying to manage schedules, because you can have all the schedule in the world. The hardest thing for me in life has been if you made a commitment to somebody, and God forbid if you change the commitment. God, people, people could change a commitment on me any day of the week. And for my whole life, I've always been like this for the most part. It probably disappointed every once in a while. But you could make a commitment with me and cancel it. And it's most likely I would say, oh, that's nice. I get to do this instead, But God forbid in my life, if I ever canceled a commitment on someone because my intuition was saying that no longer serves you, because I was listening to my intuition, but then the person you cancel on it's like you killed them. You've unalived them. I just remember feeling that way, like, especially with family members. It's like, it's very interesting, isn't it? Every time throughout my life, I've tried to love myself because I wanted to do something that was better for me than it was for whoever. Then we got the should on. We got should on. We are constantly shooting on each other. Constantly. And the reason we have a hard time loving ourselves is because we're shooting on ourselves all the time. And people are shooting on us. We've been taught from we, should. Not listen to yourself. Every day, if I had a child right now, this is the only time in my life I feel like I'm actually ready to be a parent. At 56. Right now. One, because I have the space and the time to actually pay attention to another little human being. And what I would probably say to that little human being every day is, what is in your heart today? How do you want to take care of yourself today? Do you feel like going to school? If you don't feel like going to school today, we'll learn here today. What do you feel like doing today? Wouldn't that be amazing? I know, and you go, well, how would that work in society? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. It's not mine to figure out. But I'm kind of wondering, as we move from the 3D to the 4D, that those who are able to start doing this are going to move to the 3D to the 4D to the 5D much easier. Because you're listening to your intuition. Okay, so here's the example of what I actually started thinking about when I woke up this morning. So I'm laying in bed, and last night I had listened to AOC. She had an awesome discussion on video last night on YouTube, and it was about a budgeting. It has to do with Medicaid. So I'll put the video below, you guys. It's actually really good if you want to listen to it. It had to do with Medicaid and the risk the risk of them trying to take away Medicaid funding and how they're doing things through the back door type of thing. And, they're trying to keep us all distracted so we're not actually focused on the Medicaid issue. That's what she's basically saying, is the Medicaid issue is actually what they're all these things that they're doing, even probably the tariffs, everything, is they're trying to keep us distracted so that when they change the funding of the Medicaid, we're not paying attention. And then it's too late. Okay? And they want to take away the money from Medicaid so they can give it to the billionaire tax cut that's coming up in the fall. Yeah. So it's a really good video. It's very educational. I only listened to like 10 minutes. However, she did a call to action on there. And the call to action was, we have 72 hours to bombard these Republicans that are on this committee that have to do with Medicaid. Okay? So if that inspires you right now, I will list the video below. I don't have the details of the committee or anything. See, before when I did Coffee with Karen, I was feeling like I have to have the details and then and a plan. Okay, this is my point of inspired action, right? Or taking care of myself. I was laying in bed and I was like, oh, I should really participate in that. I should do that. And I heard myself saying should, okay? And I just got a sinking feeling like I don't want to do that. I just don't want to spend my day doing that today. And then I thought, oh, that's when I started laying there and I was like, oh, that's what following your intuition is about. Because I could have probably now, depending on how many people listen to this, 20 comments now of people going, well, Karen, that's very rude. You should really be calling those, you need to help society, right? You should be doing it, right? We're not talking about AOC. We're not even talking about my schedule. We're talking about following our intuition. That's the whole point of this. So don't get lost in the weeds, okay? Come back. Don't get caught in the weeds. Look at the bigger picture. My S's have a hard time in the Myers-Briggs, a little hard time doing that, but we can all do it. We can all look at the big picture. Just as I have a hard time with the details. You S's are amazing. So, so I'm laying there and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do it. What does that mean about me? Dang, do I not care? Just like laying, I don't even want to send an email out about it. I don't even want to put a post-it, And then again, it got me thinking about this is what intuition is all about. And then I woke up and I went, oh, I used to just pop in and just talk about stuff like this, Coffee with Karen, right? And then I got inspired. I was like, oh, I'm excited. I could just get on and not make it a production. I have nothing around me. I've got no rods. They're over there, but. And then I took inspired action. I followed my intuition. And the intuition is like a little sparkle. I just call it a little crystal, a little sparkle in you, okay? But the opposite of that is like a little dread, a little like, no. See, our inner compasses have a yes and no. It's constant yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. But because of societal expectations and everybody else's opinions about things, we are constantly following our no's, And there are going to be many of you who want to take that inspired action that AOC is suggesting. And that's what you should do. You're following your yes. But we want people who follow their yeses, who are inspired to do that, to be the ones who do it. Because you guys are the ones, or whoever does it, are the ones who are going to actually make the difference, not the people who's saying no to it. Okay? Because my yeses will come in a different format when it comes to the political stuff going on, But you can't do it all. You can't do all the things. you know? And then we should ourselves, and then we feel depressed because we're limited and we only have so much capacity, you know, as humans, our density, we only have so much capacity to handle things. And then we feel depressed about it because it depresses our energy because we should ourselves constantly. Should ourselves. So I was watching this video. This is just a little side note. I was watching this video of my mom the other day. It happened. So it's a long story, but my mom had ARDS a couple times. Long story. And the second time she had ARDS. So ARDS is acute respiratory disorder. Basically, it's your lungs. ARDS is what people basically died of for COVID. ARDS is a very serious thing. And when she got ARDS twice, the second time, and lived, she's like in the record books because most people don't do that. That doesn't usually happen. People who get ARDS usually die. So, because you're on the respirator and then getting off the respirator and all this kind of stuff. So my mom had ARDS twice, and that's not even what took her out. It's not what she wasn't ready to go to the other side, you know. Hey, Mom. Anyways, I was watching these videos of her because when she was in the hospital, we were all, my sisters, my stepdad, we were all kind of, I think for the most part, it was just us. There's like my sister Cammie, Marcia, myself, and my dad. You know, I was like 5 weeks, I would be like, you know, rotating with them and coming back to work and working from the hospital and all this kind of stuff. But we were always there, like always there. And it was a great experience. I know that sounds weird, but it was, a very loving experience. Anyways, I was watching these videos of her the other day when she was in the hospital. And I haven't watched a video for a while. She's been gone 12 years. And she's been on the other side for 12 years. She left her human body, and it was really, I watched it with delight, and it was funny because she was just getting out of bed for the first time after being laying. I think she'd been off the respirator, and PT was coming in. Okay, so this young man comes into the room, and I'm recording this on my phone. She's sitting up on the side of the bed, just like limp. And real low energy. She even said, "Oh, I just have low energy." Well, yeah, because she hadn't been moving around, you know. So anyways, this young man comes into the room and he puts a belt around her, okay? Puts a belt around her waist. And her boobs are like hanging, you know, because that's what happens, women. Our boobs end up by our belly buttons. We're like, what the hell? Why? Anyways, it's just what happens. So he puts the belt like around here. Okay, well, her boobs are like way down here. So all of a sudden she goes, well, and I noticed it, you know, and I was just watching. And then I was like, Mom, you might need to adjust that, you know, the belt. And then she looks up at the young man and she goes, we need to put that under my girls. We need to put that, I forgot she called them my girls. We need to put that under my girls. And I was like, Mom, I think you're going to need to lift your girls up for him. He's not going to lift your girls up. So she's like, lifts one, puts it over the belt. And then she hardly lifted. I was like, Mom, you need to lift the other girl, your other girl. Oh my God, I was dying. It is fun to look back at videos. I don't do that very often because, you know, I try not to live in the past too much, but that was delightful. Oh, gosh. Anyways, the last thing I wanted to say was with the AOC thing, is I did think to myself, well, there was 36,000 people that had watched that video thus far. It was a day old. And I thought, okay, 36,000 people. Let's just say half of those people took inspired action to actually call the Congress people she was suggesting to call. And now I'll post it here. Maybe there's going to be a few, you know, couple hundred more. That's probably good, 15,000. So I was like, you know what? There's probably enough people who took inspired action. But I don't know. I don't think we can move to 4D and 5D without shooting ourselves or shooting others. And I think I've been talking quite a bit actually about judging versus discernment and all that kind of stuff. And really it's judging like the right or wrong and actually 3D. When I looked yesterday, we did with yesterday's pendulum messages, I gave a 4-minute, 5-minute look at, and I just kind of talked through what AI says about 3D, 4D, 5D. It's very interesting. Because what I do with AI is I'll say, go out and find all of the data that's been ever written about this subject and bring it down, synthesize it for me, and tell me. So it told me like two different points of view when it came to 3D to 5D and what's the 4D situation. So the 3D is, what's in the 3D is right or wrong, good or bad. Okay, that's how we see things in 3D. That's why there's drama, because we are shitting on each other. That's what we do in the 3D. But and it's separation. It's you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. Separation constantly. And we're constantly looking for people who just agree with us and, who we feel comfortable with because our energy is the same. We're on the same page. Means they're wrong, we're right, we're on the same page. And I know, like, if you're on a spiritual journey, you try not to do that, but it's a very simplified version of 3D, but there's separation in 3D. But as we move towards 5D, it's unity consciousness. Well, and there isn't a should. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's experience. It's what it is. And so that's why I don't think we'll be, unless we work on that individually and loving yourself, which was one of the messages that we got yesterday. When I think about that, loving yourself, the only way you can do that is to stop shooting on yourself, because you're not following your inspiration. If it's a should, the answer is no. That's if you're feeling like I should do this, the answer is no. In an ideal world, in a spirit, in a follow your higher self, your higher self is saying no, that's not right for you. I should go. They're family. I have to go. I have a commitment. Your higher self is saying no. Your higher self is saying no. And I know it's complicated. It feels complicated. It doesn't have to be, and here's the thing, if you do it, you're giving permission for other people to do it, to take care of themselves. And isn't that what we all should be doing? It's the put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on anybody else. But it may take you an entire lifetime that you have to have that oxygen mask on first, because maybe you've had horrendous previous lifetimes and you're here in this lifetime to actually take care of yourself. And our society, especially the Western society, has said, nope, you're not first. You don't take care of yourself first. 333. Hi, Mom. Oh, 3333. Hi, Mama. That's our number. So, yeah. This is an original Coffee with Karen right here. Which means I've got other stuff. So to me, it doesn't matter how far this video goes. Because the other ones is our regular programming. So now I can just chill again. I love it. I love the chill. See, this wasn't a should video. My other two are the like, okay, I made a commitment. These are my commitment videos. This is a taking care of Karen video. And yeah, so it's trying to find the balance, right? And I am interested in those other videos. I do want to get the messages and find out more from the SGs. Absolutely. But I hope this inspired you to just think a tiny, tiny bit about how you're taking care of yourself and what that means to you, and that 100% permission to start disappointing people. Start disappointing people. And you can tell them, I'm sorry, but I'm going to start disappointing you because I'm going to start taking care of myself. I'm going to start, if I want to come, I mean, it's almost like this is what perceivers will do, perceivers in the Myers-Briggs. They actually, I think, have it right. Now, it's much harder when you have a boss and you have a job and you got to make money and all this kind of stuff. That's very 3D-ish, When we move to the 4D, the 5D, we won't be concerned about that because we're going to understand that I can just manifest those things. Those things can just come to me. I don't need money to be able to buy food or whatever. We'll see how that works. But so perceivers have it, in my opinion, have it right. They actually know, I think, how to take care of themselves a little easier. This is just coming off the top of my head, than judgers. And it's either judgers or perceivers in the Myers-Briggs, the last two letters. And judgers doesn't mean judgment. It's just the way they labeled it. It's how you judge your time. It's how you organize your world, right, Sean? My friend Sean, who I gave a call out to the other day, she is like the true expert in the Myers-Briggs. I'll come back to my point. Her and I actually, the class that I have listed below, if you want to know what your Myers-Briggs type is, her and I actually did the class together, and she's very, very knowledgeable. I get the big picture, but when it comes to talking about specifics, I can get some of the specifics wrong. So, anyways, the perceiver will be like, well, so like as a judger, someone who likes to have stuff on the calendar or has to plan their time and will follow their schedule all of the time. Not all the time, but it's more comfortable following a schedule. We'll say, hey, do you want to go to a movie on Saturday? And the perceiver would say, well, I don't know, call me Saturday morning, I'll let you know. I totally agree with that. I think I am going to become a perceiver. I think I'm just going to more and more and more, because it's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling, and I don't want to disappoint you. So I'll let you know, I'll let you know if I want to go to a movie on Saturday, like 2 hours before. And that person's like, yeah, well, I'll have already made plans. So, okay, I don't know. All right. Well, hopefully you got something out of this. I know I did for processing this out loud. I'm such an extrovert processing out loud. Excuse me. Of following your guidance. The best way, people say, I don't hear my guidance. Yeah, you do. You do hear it. When your body is saying no, your mind is saying no, you're feeling dread because you got to do something, you're hearing your guidance. You're actually hearing your guidance. And then when you feel excited about something and you're like, oh, wow, I'm totally inspired to do that, you're following your guidance. That's your guidance. That is following your intuition. That is hearing your guides. That's hearing your higher self. Your higher self is saying, yes, 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 that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Go do that. And our ego, God, I'm just getting this in a different way. The ego is what has to manage all of the expectations on earth and with each other. And then the ego has to deal with the people getting mad at you and how does that feel? And, but your higher self is like, yeah, I don't care. I just wanted to do this. So if you think about it this way, like you have your higher self. Your higher self is here, this is true. So your higher self is in the other realm, right? And your higher self has broken off a part of your higher self and is inside of you right now, okay? So here's my higher self, and then here's Karen. My higher self said, I'm going to break off a little bit of my spirit that's probably not the right way to say that, but I'm going to break off and have this experience as Karen, okay? And I'm going to float around on Earth and do this and that, and then I'm going to talk to people on YouTube and okay? And every time, it's like you have your higher self is actually driving it. Your higher self's the one having the experience. I mean, it really is. Like, I'm just getting this for myself right now. Your higher self is the one having the experience. So it's trying to tell you, because it knows you have an ego, so you have to deal with all this kind of stuff. It's trying to give you really clear directions, really clear directions. But because our ego gets in the way of that, and everybody else's ego gets in the way of our directions, then we can't hear it, and we don't think we hear it. We're hearing it all the time, constantly. Just like me laying in bed this morning saying, I don't want to do that. I don't want to call those Republicans and tell them about Medicaid. Should I? Absolutely. Should I? Absolutely. And I'm sure I'm going to get comments here like, Karen, that's really rude that you're not calling them. How dare you? You know? Well, okay, should all over me, why don't you? Well, my higher self is saying no. Your higher self is saying yes. So follow your higher self. That's amazing. You know, but it's when we start shooting on each other and telling everybody what they should do and what they shouldn't do, then you're just living in the 3D drama, you know. And it's really fascinating because over the last week, it's like my higher self just said no about politics, just done. Just over like the last week, just done. I might come back to it, but I mean, I'm like, and I am paying attention. I will play the role that I'm inspired to play. I'm not saying I'm going to ignore it, but like, I don't even, you know, everything I used to love to watch that would give me insights on what's going on. No. Now I'm watching the baking championship again, or the American Bake Off thing with Prue and Paul Hollywood, you know. And I'm like, oh, it feels so good to be back to just that. So obviously paying attention because I saw the AOC thing, but it's so weird. I think that's what happened to me because I was really politically focused in the community here because I was taking inspired action. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. I'm like, what happened, you know? And I was feeling dread about even having to talk about it. So then, as you can imagine, publicly, because I'd been talking about it, I was like, I don't even know how to make that shift. How do you make that shift? So I was feeling a little dread about, you know, showing up in the community and wanting to do it well. And my ego was getting in the way, you know. But I woke up this morning, I'm like, I can just do another original. This is an original Coffee with Karen right here. Some of you who have been with me from the beginning will know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, this feels so good. So I don't know. I might not be back with an original Coffee with Karen tomorrow, but I also might come back this afternoon. You might be like, oh my God, Karen, there's 6 hours of... There's 6 hours of listening to Karen today. Don't do it. If your higher self is saying don't do it, don't do it. I'll just show up, and for whoever's higher self is saying listen, then go for it. Oh, goodness. Anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see whoever is interested in pendulum messages and oracle messages today, noon Central. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.